The girls just came off a really good experience and challenge in Europe, playing against two of the top, women's teams in the world in France and England, and a lot of the youngsters got some good game time, which is really valuable heading in towards World Cup next year.
Our customers own the organisation, and we act in the best interests of customers today, tomorrow, and I hope for the next 115 years.
I recognise tonight that I am the first within our Paralympic movement to hold up this prestigious award, but I have no intention of self-congratulation. I have to point behind me to the generations of proud men and women with disabilities who allowed me to become the person and athlete that you see fit to receive this award.
It's certainly not a sport where you'd expect an elite footballer to thrive. But armed with skills to match the best of them, Nick Cowburn knows his lawn bowls.
That's a little better at least.
And he has the titles to prove it.
So it's all dependent on which way you want it to curve. You always have the bigger side on the outside. Okay. So the centre, the smaller bit is the way you want it to curl back in.
He may not be wearing Wanji's traditional kit, but showing me the ropes.
Tell you what, this isn't looking too bad either.
It's clear Cowburn loves the game.
We have a 6 to 7 week break between seasons, and it's really peak bowl season in that time, and my mates got me involved in it and got a little bit more serious as time went on.
That's an understatement. Cowburn and his mates are the Newcastle under-25 triples champions.
We entered that not knowing what we were getting ourselves into. But yeah, we had a lot of fun doing it and we ended up winning it, which was pretty cool. Come away with a cool district badge at the end of it.
It'd be good, I can imagine, to be able to kind of do something with your mates that isn't as serious as football, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly right. The last time I played any type of sport with my mates was back in under 9s, 10s of soccer. And ever since soccer's got a little bit more serious for me, I haven't been able to play as much with my local friends. So this is something that I can do with my mates, and it's fun.
But it's the time of year when his focus switches firmly back to football and the Newcastle Jets, the club where Cowburn has played since he was 16. His dad, Brett, played for KB United 40 years ago.
I can't tell you how many times people have said, "Oh, you weren't as good as your old man," though. I've got that a few times, but I don't think he's ever been a person to really push me to do anything that I didn't want to do. It was just more, as long as you enjoy doing it, keep playing and, keep earning money. It was a pretty good moment when I passed him for appearances as well.
Yeah.
I got over that 50 mark and I let him know about it.
Nick is forging his own path. A young Socceroo, he made his A-League debut at 19 and in defence at a time the club was struggling. He's now being used in midfield where the Jets have plenty of depth, which means game time has been limited. He just wants to be involved.
I know the people that come to the games and support. When you get stopped in the street and people are like, "Hey, great result on the weekend," instead of, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like he's even turning up out there. Yeah. It's really special for people to recognise you in the street for doing something good.
And he's being recognised as something else. His beard has developed a cult following.
Yeah, it just come on one day. I swear I was 18 and could barely grow stubble. And then, a few shaves later, here it is.
To get rid of the beard?
Look, if I won an A-League Grand Final, I'd get rid of it. There's my promise.
She demanded a public apology earlier this week, but instead received an email. Ambulance Commissioner Dominic Morgan acknowledging he was misquoted when discussing Sharon Jenkins' late husband Tony's alleged opioid misuse.
For me to think people that have known him all his life are thinking that, I have to have it retracted.
The 54-year-old paramedic took his own life earlier this year, hours after a meeting during which senior staff allegedly raised concerns. An autopsy found no trace of any substances when he died.
If you're about to take your own life and you're addicted to a substance, that's going to be your crutch, isn't it? He didn't have any fentanyl in his system.
Since speaking out, the family says other paramedics have reached out privately, supporting its ongoing campaign to see improvements made.
That's what I think of, their welfare. That's why I have to keep going.
New South Wales Ambulance says it cannot comment publicly as multiple investigations are ongoing.
I do miss him, really. Sometimes I just think I can't survive without him.
Sam Burbury, NBN News.
A hum rang through Tocal today, these busy bees learning all there is for aspiring keepers. From hives to the full kit and even beeswax candles, local professionals were there to field the questions.
If you're interested in bees, if you've got bees, if you've never had bees before, this is the place to be.
We're in a growth stage of beekeeping in the amateur front, and also there's movement in the commercial sector, and it's one of our biggest worries is the growth in the spreading of disease.
Department of Primary Industries took enthusiasts through disease mitigation workshops.
The general consensus is if we lose bees, we would lose 2/3 of our food production within the world because they rely on pollination so much.
A notion that sparked curiosity and interest in the hobby of keeping bees.
It'll be 1,000 beekeepers with a few hives rather than a beekeeper with thousands of hives. That will be the best thing for bees because we've got our bees in urban areas, in suburbia, and that's where we need to have that pollination.
Showing one humble hive can bring a hive of activity to the garden beds and veggie patches of your town.
Bees will pollinate an area or forage for an area up to 5 kilometres in radius from their hive, so you can have a hive in your yard and have an effect on a whole suburb.
Georgia Ma, NBN News.
We go up there, have big auctions and raise as much as we can for the Hunter Breast Cancer Foundation.
He was already the giant slayer, but when he took down former world champion Adriano de Souza with the highest scores of the contest, then eliminated South African heavyweight Jordy Smith, then beat American Conor Coffin to make his first championship tour final, Ryan Callanan was the talk of the surfing world, but his opponent and close friend Julian Wilson also impressed. Fog descended over the beach for the final, but it was clear how much Callanan wanted the title, racing out to an early lead and keeping it for most of the contest until Wilson turned the heat with one manoeuvre. The trophy was his, not that Ryan seemed to mind. The best result of his career alongside one of his best mates.
Opposed ever since it was proposed, these Bob's Farm residents are continuing their fight against plans for a sand mine.
It's an inappropriate development in an inappropriate site.
Developer Amos Resource Management hopes to extract around 10 million tonnes of sand over 15 years from a 36-hectare site on Nelson Bay Road, digging down below the water table.
There is contamination in Tilligary Creek. What is going to then stop that contamination in the river and salt water impacting our properties? Nothing will hold that back.
Along with health and environmental concerns, residents also fear heavy vehicles will clog Marsh Road near the local primary school.
The mine has proposed that between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m, they will be releasing 180 trucks on the road.
The group appears to have found an ally, Labor MP Kate Washington promising to raise its concerns in State Parliament.
If a proposal like this could possibly be approved, then there is something seriously wrong with the rules.
Tattersall Lander, the consultancy representing Amos, was contacted for comment.
Our first option is to stop it, but damn well if we can't stop it, we definitely need some changes. We're not going to stop talking until somebody hears us.
Sam Burbury, NBN News.
It's mixed gender, full contact, and high on emotion. It's the State Shield for Quidditch, the international game with a cult following, inspired by the magic of Harry Potter, and hosted in Newcastle at the home of football club, the Broadmeadow Magic.
Only the best can make it at state level. And this makes this tournament the highest quality tournament I believe it exists anywhere, because every game is just the best players from all over the country.
For the novice, it's a whole new ball game and a whole new language.
There are 3 bludgers, but 4 beaters, 2 on each side, which creates a lot of interesting strategies to try and get bludger control, which is when a team has 2 bludgers and the opposing team has only 1, which obviously is the best condition to score.
Obviously. It's also highly technical, something we can finally agree with referees on.
Very specific rules for very specific circumstances. Rulebook's about 200 pages long.
And there's no bunkers here, just good old-fashioned adjudication.
Sometimes they go a little bit past the line, but we're here to pull them back and hopefully make sure that everything's aggressive but still fair and safe.
In Quidditch, nothing's left on the field, and the contact's right up there with park footy. There's no time limit on a game of Quidditch. In fact, the longest recorded match went for 72 minutes, and that's because it doesn't finish until either team catches the snitch. He comes on at the 17-minute mark, and in his words, he'll be coming in hot.
The Seekers will be coming in hot, and I'll be fending them off.
But it ain't easy being a snitch. And when everyone's out to get you, it's your time to shine. It might not have been the man in yellow's day, but it's all about the spirit of the game.
Tough game, but it was so good.
And while state pride was on the line, win, lose or draw, one thing's for certain, they're sure to be back for more. Stephen Mount, NBN News.
Definitely pushing for a starting spot. That would be absolutely incredible. First season playing with the W League, so that would be the dream. Really good for me to build training underneath them and learning from them and them teaching me what they've grown up playing with, so it's going to be really good.
On the road to recovery, surrounded by family, Alex Davies counts himself lucky.
I remember making the start and I was in front and looked across and was still in front, and then from that moment on it's kind of all black. I don't remember anything after that, and the next thing I remember is 4 weeks later.
He moved to the UK when he was 17 to race speedway. Now 26, he'd recently made the change to long track. At the latest World Championship qualifier in the Czech Republic, he had been doing well until the first turn.
They just watered the track, so it was really heavy, and so I wouldn't have been able to see, and I collided with the rider next to me, and then it all messed up from there.
In the crowd, his grandparents, one of them Hunter Sports Hall of Famer Keith Davies.
We just thought it was just an accident, and okay, he was all right, he'd get up and they'd come back to the pits and sort his bike out.
That didn't happen. Alex was placed in an induced coma for 4 days and spent a month in a Czech hospital.
There was 3 bleeds on the brain. There was a broken collarbone, a compound fracture of the tibia in my lower leg, and a broken fibula as well.
Thankfully for Alex and his family, there's no footage of the horrific crash. His cracked helmet, though, shows what happened clearly enough.
Because of the impact on the side of my head, that's just split right through. So yeah, I was very lucky that I was wearing a good helmet. Yeah, exactly.
And a reminder of the progress still to be made.
I'm not able to use my arm still properly now, so I'm going to do a lot of physio and a lot of gym work.
After almost a decade of professional racing, he's now called time.
Your body can only go through so much trauma, and to be so close to not making it, like there was a lot of people that didn't think that I was going to make it at all, so to go through all that, yeah, that's enough.
A time for new beginnings and a new career as a plumber.
Just get back to living life and enjoy the summer and all them sorts of fun things.
Yeah, obviously Daniel Sams, Sanger and Jack Edwards in our squad, and no doubt at least 1 or 2 of those are going to debut.
Taken far too soon, 3-year-old Indy Henderson was playing near a sandstone wall memorial at Blackhead Bowling Club in November 2016 when it collapsed, killing her. The tragedy is now the subject of a coronial inquest, which is examining how the memorial was built and maintained. Today, Indy's mother and grandmother cried during proceedings. The court hearing the toddler was a happy kid, always laughing. According to counsel assisting Hannah Mitchell-Moore, the memorial's headstone was attached using silicone rather than cement. Ms Mitchell-Moore told the court she expects evidence to show silicone is not an effective fixing agent for sandstone and that the structure had no rigidity to resist a lateral movement such as rocking. Multiple witnesses gave evidence they saw children sitting on the monument moments before the tragedy. One telling the inquest a boy was moving back and forth like he was riding a horse. Police say the section that fell weighed around 425 kilograms. No Australian standard governs the construction of monuments outside cemeteries. The inquest expects to hear from 13 witnesses. It continues tomorrow. Sam Burbury, NBN News.
A beautiful woman with piercing green eyes, described by her heartbroken family as a caring soul. Kira Foster was planning to train as a beauty therapist.
She was always trying to better herself. She was always smiling through it, and she knew that she could do better. She was extremely smart. Kira is someone who you could talk to about anything and any questions, and she's got the answer.
She meant a lot to me, and she meant a lot to the family, and she was always there for anybody that needed her.
The 32-year-old was a passenger in a stolen Subaru WRX that crashed at Charlestown in the early hours of September 21, narrowly missing a petrol bowser at a service station before slamming into a parked car.
I'm devastated, it's killed me.
Kira fought for 3 weeks but died in hospital last Friday, adding to the family's heartache the loss of her unborn baby. Charges are yet to be laid, but under the law as it stands, any possible charges can only relate to Kira's death.
Well, to us, it's 2 lives. It's two lives that are just taken away just like that. So, no, I don't understand the law. I don't get it.
Her brother and sister want politicians to take action, saying unborn children should be recognised by law, hoping to create a legacy for Kira's baby, their niece or nephew.
Personally, to me, that baby was one of us as well.
Something needs to change, It's not fair, and it happens all the time, and people just walk away with it.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
If we can find an owner for the bike, we'll return it. Otherwise, generally the bikes, if they can be sold at auction, they'll be sold at auction. Otherwise, they'll just be destroyed.
An eyesore going from this to this. Doma plans to transform the former store car park into a $54 million office block, mostly for state government staff. A DA has been lodged with Newcastle Council.
It's a 12-storey office building that will be the newest Property Council A-grade building in Newcastle.
Doma will develop the rest of the store site in 3 stages. A new bus interchange, a much-needed 678-space car park and 2 90-metre high mixed-use residential and retail towers. They'll be the city's tallest. The $200 million redevelopment, the jewel in the crown in the CBD's move west.
Got a bit of an accelerated boost by council also backing themselves to follow that strategy and moving up closer to the Wickham interchange.
Doma already has 7 projects on the go in Newcastle, including residential project Loom and a hotel development at Honeysuckle.
This is the area that a lot of people live in, they play in. Now is their chance to have a say on the future of Throsby Creek and just how we can improve it.
Kurri Kurri is home to around 17,000 people, and now 61 murals. When motorists exit the Hunter Expressway bound for the town, the first thing they'll see will be this, a colourful and powerful tribute to the town's smeltering heritage.
With the shutting of the smelter, it was very important we keep that memory.
The hydro smelter was mothballed back in 2012 after 40 years of production, leaving 400 workers out of a job, and locals still feel its loss.
Over $80 million a year in wages went into the local economy from this smelter. I think everyone that worked there didn't realise how good they had it until it shut. I had 31 years working out the smelter and I loved every minute of it.
The mural itself is actually, I think a fitting tribute. It's something that the community wanted.
The mural was 10 months in the making, and Caves Beach artist Daniel Joyce is thrilled to have his work featured so prominently.
Cars stopping and horns bipping and people complimenting me along the way, so of course I'm proud of it. It's a big piece and it's outside and it's going to be here for a long time.
It's in good company too. Kurri's murals have become something of a tourist attraction. A little known fact about them, every single one includes a kookaburra. Jacinta Lee, NBN News.
Two of the highest profile Jets representing Newcastle at the A-League launch. The new season bringing with it new expectations. The women are backing up from their best ever campaign. The men are out to avenge last year's grand final loss.
We got over it in the end and have a fresh start and strive to get to the grand final again and get the win. Try and be as entertaining as possible and obviously get goals, that's what the fans want.
Back in Newcastle, as if acclimatising to the weather they're heading for across the Tasman, the Jets are fired up for round one after 16 long weeks of pre-season.
We are physically, technically and strategically ready to go and we're just really looking forward to it.
New Zealand on Sunday afternoon is not an easy start.
I think it'll be a very tough game knowing that everyone that crosses over the ditch to play over there and the Westpac Stadium does it tough. So we anticipate that, but we couldn't be better prepared.
With Glenn Moss, Nikolai Topor-Stanley and skipper Nigel Bogard, the only three players assured of starting come Sunday, Ernie Merrick has the luxury of choice, while Brazilian import Jair will get some game time.
He's above and beyond expectation, actually. I thought it would be another 2-3 weeks before we could give him a run, but no, he's in good shape.
And he'll need to be in the absence of prolific goalscorer Roy O'Donovan.
He's not available till December, and that's why we signed 3 more strikers, and so we think we can cover him.
With just 4 sleeps until the 2018-19 season, Merrick believes it's anyone's championship.
Victory, Sydney, Perth, City and Wanderers have really recruited pretty well and spent money. We've recruited with an eye on our budget and being reasonable, but there's no doubt that the standard of the competition is going to be much harder, which is great for the fans.